some videos from last year when I was in my basement. I don't know if you guys saw those. Okay, so it's all labeled by day. Okay, so the order. Now, the lecture Friday, I recorded 7th hour, so that came out late because I wasn't here first and second hour on Friday. You guys wouldn't know that because you weren't here either. Yes. Okay, but yeah, so we started how a bill becomes a law on Friday. Okay, there are 6 steps. Okay, and I put this up here because this is a good shot of a hearing room, which is step 2 is hearings. Okay, where people come to testify, and then this is Judge Amy Coney Barrett here. So she's the witness. Okay, she's coming to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Okay, now look at, they got all these tables here, and then you've got other members here, and then the Democrats brought props, okay, for this hearing, and then you can see the media here. Okay, so typically this is what your hearing room would look like. Okay, if you had multiple witnesses, with this case you just have one. Okay, and this is a confirmation hearing. Okay, so they ask her questions, she answers the questions, and then they vote. Or in the case of her, the Democrats didn't vote. They boycotted the vote. Okay, so yeah, that's what they were doing. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, so your 6 steps. Okay, we went over this. This is in the lecture from Friday. Okay, referral to committee. Okay, any bill that's introduced to Congress gets referred to a committee. Okay, what happens there will determine the fate. Okay, and which committee it's sent to will determine the fate of the bill. Okay, and if you watched the video as well, I showed at the beginning of this. I'm just a bill. Yeah. Okay. So we'll watch it at the beginning and the end. Hopefully you guys will be here at the end and you'll get to see it, but I don't know if that'll be the case. Okay. You might have to watch the video. All right. So hearings, once it goes to committee, if the chair of that committee likes it, he or she will put it on the calendar. And when you put it on the calendar, you got to have hearings. Okay. These are open to the public and people will come to testify either in support or in opposition to it. Okay, so these are notes we did the other day, and here's your hearings. I've got some pictures of, some famous people, and a lot of times members will bring celebrities in to bring attention to it, and when you bring celebrities in, these people here, the media show up because they, it's more interesting because you've got a celebrity testifying in front of Congress. So here come the cameras, and all the members show up because they don't have to show up. Okay, so once you do the hearings, and you do hearings a lot of times in subcommittee and in the full committee. Okay, and after that, okay, this is where the real work gets done in step 3. Okay, and that is called markup. I want you to think of this like, remember that first essay you wrote for this class? What was that over? The 5 basic principles of the U.S. Constitution, right? Popular sovereignty, limited government, checks and balances, separation of powers, and federalism, right? Just rolls right off the tongue. Yes?
I just wanted to see if you knew.
Right. And those principles in that essay, some of you guys did well. Some of you didn't. Some of yours got marked up quite a bit. See what I mean by markup? That's where you fix it, okay? That's where the exact phrasing of the bill, and this is where you get lawyers involved, okay? I'm dealing with some estate stuff right now with my dad's estate, and you read through the life estate or the trust, and you're like, what the heck does that mean? It's all lawyer talk, okay? So you got to have lawyers in the room, okay? And this is where the real debate takes place, okay? Remember, these committees, they do the work because all 435 members of the House don't have time to read and study this bill and work on every bill. So the committees do the work, okay? Hey, how you doing?
Good.
All right. Gangs, oh, that's right. So we're in step 3 of how a bill becomes a law, all right? And we're in markup. So we've had the bill sent to a committee. We've had hearings on it where people come and testify in favor or in opposition to it. And then then it goes to markup, okay? And so here, this markup takes place both in subcommittee and full committee, okay? This is where they're gonna, take things out, add things in, they're gonna debate it, okay? This is like the meat and potatoes of the process, okay? So you may only have, out of 435 people in the House, you may only have, 26, 27 of those people working on it, okay? And then in the Senate, you may only have like 13 people working on it, all right? But they're doing the work for the other members, okay? So most of these are open to the public. It's not like people tune in and watch this on TV, but you can in some cases. Have you guys ever heard of C-SPAN? You've heard of it? You heard of it, okay. C-SPAN, if you're scrolling through the channels, okay, it's basically, there's C-SPAN and C-SPAN 2. And basically this is like television that covers our government. Okay, it's funded by the government. And so they'll show debates on the floor of the House and so forth. They've got a good website. That's where I get that poster over the Electoral College C-SPAN, okay? And they cover our government, okay? It's not like reporting, it's just like viewing, okay? So it's not bias, it's just, here it is, okay? All right, so this is the real work is done here, okay? So the genuine debate, the meat and potatoes of it, and then after markup, after they fix the bill the way they want it, okay, they're going to vote on it. Okay, if it's in the subcommittee and it passes the subcommittee, it'll go to the full committee. And then they'll work on it, mark it up, and then they'll vote on it. And if it passes the committee, it goes to the next step. If it doesn't pass the committee, it dies. Okay. Now, most bills die before this. If you guys remember, when the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader send a bill to a committee chairperson, they're going to look at this bill. And if the committee chairperson likes it, they're going to put it on the calendar and we're going to go to hearings and then markup. But if the chairperson doesn't like it, it's been referred to his or her committee, they pigeonhole it. They just put it on their desk. It never goes on the calendar and it dies. That's where most bills die. But they could die here too. If there's a vote in committee and they don't approve it, they're like, yeah, we tried, but this isn't a good bill, and it doesn't pass. Okay, so usually though, if the committee chair puts it on the calendar, they have hearings, they have markup, usually it's going to pass the committee. Then it goes to step 4, and this is where it really starts to get confusing. Up to this is really easy, okay? Where it gets confusing is the rules in the House and the Senate are very different, okay? Oh, what do I have here? Okay, yeah, this is an important step here as well, okay? So if it passes the committee, they write a report, okay? If you're taking notes, underline report there, okay? The report is compiled that explains the changes and major arguments of the bill. It is this report that helps members make their voting decisions. It's a summary of the bill. Guys, some of these bills can be hundreds, if not thousands of pages long. When Obamacare was passed in 2009, guys, it was 2,600 pages long. They sent that bill to 11 different committees in the House because it was so big. You had to have all these different committees working on it. Okay, and so it was, how many of the 435 members of the House actually read the 2,600 pages? Maybe like 1 or 2. Now, if you work for me, and I'm a member of Congress, you're on my staff, I'm going to say, hey, you need to read this. Okay? And tell me if there's anything in there I won't like. That's your job. That's why you're making $50,000 a year. Maybe a little more. And then if you got somebody working for you, if you're a staff member, you're like, hey, this guy, you read this. Okay, who read the damn thing? Okay, it's 2,600 pages. It's longer than the Bible. You know what I mean? Longer than Atlas Shrugged. It's just the longest book I ever read. It's 1,000 pages. It's the longest book you ever read.
Like Harry Potter.
How many pages? Yeah.
I tried to read the Bible. I learned the 1200.
Yeah.
I don't read books.
One day. Hey, I didn't read either when I was your age.
I loathe it, actually. That's the paper right there.
Yeah. Well, you get even better vocabulary if you read more.
That's true, but I really like it.
I mean, really, that's how you improve your vocabulary. It's by reading or listening to other people that have good vocabularies.
I watch shows with people that have good vocabulary.
Oh, do you? Like The Bachelor?
No, I don't like The Bachelor. I
Good
think
for
it's
you.
weird.
What shows? Bones?
Yeah, or like,
Law and Order?
yeah, like crime shows. I like crime shows.
Yeah.
Or action movies.
Good vocab. The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock has great vocab.
Yes. Especially in Jumanji. Okay. All right. So this report. So if I'm not on this committee, and I'm not going to read the whole bill, I'm going to read this report. Okay. My staff's going to read this report. I'm going to read this report. My leadership's going to read this report. Remember how important the leadership is. If the leadership likes this bill, then you're probably going to like this bill too, because you're going to feel pressure from them to vote for the bill. Does that make sense? Because the leadership gets to determine what committee you're on and whether they're going to support you in your next re-election bid. There's a lot of pressure to go with the leadership. Okay, so now we go to the floor. Okay, and this is where it gets confusing. So we have two floors, right? We have a House floor and we have a Senate floor. Okay. Okay, if Nancy Pelosi likes this bill is probably going to make it to the floor. If Mitch McConnell in the Senate likes this, probably going to make it to the floor in the Senate. Okay, this is the House chamber. Okay, and this is actually taken during looks like regular working hours. Okay, you've got a packed house. All right, maybe a State of the Union address, but not sure. There's a lot of people in the room. Okay, you got a lot of people up here in the balcony. This is the Senate chamber. Actually, this is the House chamber too. This is the Senate. There's 100 members here, 100 desks. That's the Senate. This is the House. Okay. All right. So they both have standard operating rules that guide the passage of bills. Okay. What are these rules about? These rules are about how they're going to vote for it, how it will be admitted to the floor, and how business will be conducted. Okay, two main areas that they're going to be focusing on. How long are they going to debate this? Okay, and are they going to allow any changes to it once it reaches this step? Okay, these would be amendments. Because remember, only a small percentage of these members have worked on this bill to this point. Only the people that are in the committee and subcommittees have worked on this. The other members have had no say in this. So are you going to let them change the bill or add things to the bill? Okay. And how long are we going to debate this? How long are we going to talk about it on the floor? Okay. Those are the kind of the two main things you're looking at for each house. Okay. So, starting with the House, okay, because most bills start in the House, okay? The House has very strict rules, okay? So most bills are given strict rules that limit floor debate, how long we're going to debate it, and how many changes or amendments we're going to make to it, okay? So in this case, we got to change our thinking of amendments. These are not constitutional amendments, right? These are just amending a bill. You with me? Okay. And because the rules are strict in the House, there won't be a lot of changes to them. There's too many people. You can't have, 400 other people making changes to this bill. It's going to get, bogged down and awful. Okay. The Senate, they allow more of that. Okay. Okay. Good? Okay. All right. So this makes this just common sense. Okay. If the rules are strict, it increases the importance of the committee's work because the bill's not going to change if the rules are strict, or it won't change much. So that really increases the importance of what the committee's doing. Okay. Where in the Senate, the committee knows that there's going to be more changes to the bill. So their work is not as important. Okay. So less strict rules open the bill for changes by the full House or Senate. Okay. And because the rules in the Senate are there are no rules, which I'll explain in a little bit. Okay. You'll see a lot of changes. So generally the committee's work is not as important in the Senate as it is in the House. So if you're writing about this on the test, okay, what would you want to include in here? Okay, I would say that, mention that the House and Senate rules are different, but generally what the rules are focusing on are these two things: how long they're going to debate it and whether they're going to allow any changes to it. Okay. All right, so let's go to the House. Okay. They have three types of labels they're going to put on a bill. Okay. So the House Rules Committee. So get this. Let's say this bill started in the House Ways and Means Committee or the House Transportation Committee. Then it's going to go, if it passes the House Ways and Means, House Transportation Committee, it'll go to the House Rules Committee first and then to the floor. And they're going to decide whether it's one of these. Opened will allow the 435 members to add amendments that relate to the subject at hand. So if this is a transportation bill, they can add things to it that deal with transportation. Okay, not some random thing. Closed, no amendments allowed. All right, this bill is hitting the floor. It can't change. Modified, you can modify some parts of the bill, but not others. These rules are not easily changed. Now, this is the House chamber here during the State of the Union address. Okay, you've got the president, the Speaker of the House, the Vice President, all up here. Okay, and then you have 435 members of the House plus 100 senators in here. You've got all 535 if they all show up. Usually, most of them do. And then up here, you have special invited guests, the media, and so forth. Down here, sometimes you'll get some of the cabinet, some of the Supreme Court justices will come for this. It's the biggest show in town. Okay. This is where they always leave one cabinet member home, the designated survivor. Because if a bomb went off right then all these people die. Who's going to be in charge? Okay? So the House rules are strict. The committee's work is very important because the bills generally don't change a whole lot once they hit the floor. Okay? Good? All right. So the rules in the Senate are, there are no rules. Okay? There's no limit on debate. There's no limit on amendments. Okay? Each bill will hit the floor with no limits. Okay? Now, can they place limits on it? Yes. Okay? Let me just, I'm going to back up just a second, okay? Just want to explain something. So like in the House, let's say they go with a closed, no amendments allowed, and they say, we're going to debate this for 2 hours. Okay? Using parliamentary procedure, okay, on the floor. And now, I don't know, have you guys heard of parliamentary procedure? Any of you guys 4-H done anything like 4-H or anything like that? Okay. You did 4-H? Did they ever have meetings where they say, like, so, like if I want to address you, I say, Mr. President, my colleague from Virginia has stated this, I yield my time. None of this stuff, like yielding the floor to let somebody else speak. You gotta be recognized to talk. Okay, that's parliamentary procedure. So you don't stand up and start talking on the House floor unless you're recognized. Okay, now you can ask to be recognized. So you say, Mr. President, whoever's running the House at that time, I would like to be recognized for 1 minute. Okay, so when they set up this debate, the Republicans are going to get 1 hour, and the Democrats are going to get 1 hour. The leadership is going to give members some time. So you get 2 minutes, you get 2 minutes, you get 3 minutes, you get 3 minutes, you get 2 minutes, you get 1 minute. Okay, now why did I give you 3? Because this bill is going to impact your district more than it's going to impact his. Does that make sense? Now, when I get recognized for 3 minutes and I start talking, is anybody listening? Are the other members, especially in the other party, listening to me? This is all hot air. You know what I'm going to make my decision based on? The report that the committee sent out, which is the summary of the bill. How much it's going to cost. We're going to have to raise taxes for this, what the bill does. That's what I'm going to make my decision on, not your speech. So this debate, a lot of times, guys, people be talking on the floor of the House or the Senate. Nobody's listening. It's just hot air. Okay? So if I only use two of my 3 minutes, I could say, Mr. President, I'd like to yield 1 time to my colleague from Kansas, and then they get to talk for 1 minute. And they'll say, they'll knock the gavel, your time's expired. Okay? The chair now recognizes so-and-so for 2 minutes. Okay, and I don't address you personally. You understand? So like if I want to say something about Brian, I'm going to go, Mr. President, my colleague Brian from Kansas is sorely mistaken. I really don't think he knows what he's talking about. Now, I don't say that to you personally. I say it through the chair. So, I mean, this prevents fights from breaking out or arguments from breaking out on the floor. This parliamentary procedure. You with me? Okay. All right. So back to the Senate. There are no rules. Okay. On the number of amendments. Oh, look at there. There's Joe Biden. Okay. He's been around for 47 years. All right. So he's still around. I mean, picture's going way back for him. Okay. All right. So the Senate standard rules can be set aside with what's called a unanimous consent agreement. What's unanimous mean? Huh? Everybody. And in the Senate, how many is that? Everybody. $100 to 0. Okay? If they vote 100-0 to place limit on debate and limit on amendments, then there's limits. You got it? If one member of the Senate doesn't agree to the unanimous consent agreement, they can hold it up. They can hold basically the passage of the bill hostage. Okay? So if it's 99-1, they can tie up the Senate. This has a name. Anybody know what this name is? Matt, haven't heard of this? A filibuster? Okay. Guys, this has been a rule in the Senate for over 150 years. Okay? So let me explain. Basically, this gives every senator veto power over the rules of each bill. Okay? So if Senator Ted Cruz says, I do not agree to the unanimous consent agreement to limit amendments on this bill or debate. So I'm going to debate. I think this bill stinks. And here's why. And you know what? Ted Cruz can keep talking as long as he's recognized until he can no longer stand and talk. He can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And nobody can stop him. That's a filibuster. The longest filibuster in American history was just over 24 hours. Strom Thurmond, who I mentioned in a lecture the other day, who died at the age of 100, he was serving in the Senate. Okay. 1964 Civil Rights Act, filibustered for just over 24 hours by himself, which means he had to stand for 24 hours and talk. Now, if I have 98-2, and there's two of us, okay, now this is better because I can go use the restroom. Okay, so I'm going to yield to Grant. You start talking. I go get something to eat, use the restroom. I come back. You yield to me. And we hold the floor. We hold the Senate hostage. Okay? Now, there's a great movie on this called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Okay? And I think I'm going to assign it to you. Okay. But it'll be optional. Okay? For some points if you need some points. Okay? It's a great movie. I'm going to show you some pictures of it here. These two pictures are from the movie. Okay? This actor is Jimmy Stewart. Okay? You might recognize him from It's a Wonderful Life. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Yes? Seen that?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so this movie is fantastic, guys. Now, it was made a long, long time ago, okay? But remember what happens when a senator dies. The governor gets to appoint a new one, all right? And the plot for this movie, which is fictional, this is a western state. They don't even name the state, so it's probably something like Kansas or Nebraska or something like that, okay? And the senator dies, and there's only like a few months left before that seat's up for re-election. So he can basically appoint anybody. And his kids talk him into appointing this guy, Jefferson Smith, who is like a Boy Scout troop leader. He's like this awesome guy that works with kids. He loves this country. He recites, George Washington from memory. He's just this optimistic, loving guy. And so the governor chooses him instead of like a political flunky, like this. You got to pick this guy because, he's important. Okay. Jeff Smith goes to Washington, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he's got a bill that he wants to pass back for his home state, and he gets himself in all kinds of trouble. He gets to find out what Washington, D.C., the swamp, is really like. Okay, and they try and expel him from the Senate. And so he fights it with a filibuster. Okay, it's a great movie. Okay, I promise you. If you watch it, you'll like it. And I think I know last semester I found a link that you could watch it for free through the Library of Congress. Yeah.
You're spelling it two different ways. Is it filibuster or filibuster?
Yeah, I probably spelled it wrong over here. Filibuster. Yeah. I do that from time to time. All right. Congressional procedures allow one or more senators to hold up the final vote on a bill through delaying tactics. So without unanimous consent, without 100 to 0, you can do this. You can stop the passage of a bill, okay? Which really does give each senator a lot of power. Now, if you have a whole party, so let's say the Republicans, remember the Senate right now is 53 to 47 today, okay? Republicans and Democrats. So let's say the Republicans put forward a bill in the Senate, and all 47 Democrats say they're going to filibuster. Mitch McConnell doesn't even bring up the bill. Because really, if you had 47 people filibustering, you would just be wasting everybody's time. So this is why in the Senate, guys, the two parties have to work together. Okay? Especially what I'm going to tell you next. Okay? The movie is historically inaccurate in this sense because you can stop a filibuster. Okay? With 60 votes. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just here describing a filibuster. So you have to stand and you have to talk. Okay, it can be nonstop speaking or offering endless amounts of amendments to the bill. Okay, this could last for hours, giving intense minority control over the majority. Okay, so yeah, these filibusters. Are kind of famous, but it's more this one, like not the one person doing it, it's more like the whole party doing it. That stops legislation from going through, as I will explain here. Okay, because this group could have stopped Jefferson Smith's filibuster if the movie was historically accurate, but then the movie wouldn't be this good. You know what I mean? Because then you wouldn't have heard his speech or his speeches, which drug on for hours and hours and hours, okay? But you can stop a filibuster with what's called a cloture, okay? Now, back when this movie was made, you would have had to get 2/3 or 67 senators to stop Jefferson Smith from speaking, okay? But they changed the rule in 1975 to 60 votes. So, would the Republicans have 60 votes to stop the Democrats from filibustering today? No. Okay? So in that sense, when you watch this movie, it's like, oh, well, they could have stopped them. And most of the senators were against Jefferson Smith at the beginning. By the end, most of them will be with him. Okay? Because it's Jimmy Stewart. I got to tell you, his movies are fantastic. Okay? I mean, he's an American jewel. I mean, as an actor. Not just these two movies that we mentioned. He also plays Charles Lindbergh in The Spirit of 1976. Just did a ton of movie roles. Okay? Also served in World War II. Was on a bomber. Okay. Okay. 60 votes stops a cloture or stops a filibuster. Okay. So if I ask you this question, tell me this: what is a filibuster-proof majority? The other party, if you have this many seats, the other party can't filibuster. 60 seats is a filibuster-proof majority. Guys, in 2009, when Obamacare was passed, the Democrats had 60 seats in the Senate. So they could pass literally anything they wanted. And what was that, what they passed in 2009? The Affordable Care Act. Something that Democrats have been trying to do since Harry Truman. Okay? The Republicans could not stop it. Okay? Now, today, when you look at Amy Coney Barrett, okay, normally, prior to about 4 years ago, you'd have to get 60 votes to pass a judge, a Supreme Court judge. So Trump's Amy Coney Barrett pick, they only needed 51 votes because they changed the rule. Democrats changed the rule on appointments. So when the president appoints somebody, you just need 51 votes. It used to take 60. Okay, now, if the Democrats win those 2 seats in Georgia, they're talking about doing away with the filibuster altogether. So it just takes 51 votes to pass anything. There's 150 years of precedence of this filibuster. It's a good thing for the American people. You have to understand this, guys. I know it's frustrating as hell. You have a majority, Republicans have 53 members, but they really can't pass anything unless they get some Democrats to join them. Does that make sense? Okay, otherwise, you have a slim majority making a decision for the whole country that the whole country may not want. Okay, you could see some crazy stuff get passed if they do away with the filibuster in the Senate. It's a little bit frightening. Okay, so I think it was really smart of the early leaders of the Senate that set this rule up. Okay, where you've got to have at least some members of the other party to vote for it. You know how many Republicans voted for the Affordable Care Act in 2009 in the House? 0. You know how many Republicans voted for it in the Senate? 0. And this was something that affected the whole country. Okay? Because the Democrats had 60 seats. Okay? And now that is going to be an interesting thing because I'm going to cover that after we go over the whole thing. All right? After we get through all this. Okay? So the basic thing here is, guys, in the Senate, without 100 to 0, unanimous consent, debate can last forever. You can add as many amendments as you want, changes to the bill. Okay? Everybody with me on that? Okay, so the House rules are very strict. All right. Then they're going to vote in the House and the Senate. Okay? Now, most of the time, guys, they have these little buttons at their desk that they just push a little button, yes or no. Okay, which is nice. You're supposed to be present to vote. Now, Nancy Pelosi changed the rules of the House during the pandemic for the first time ever and is allowing members of Congress to vote from home. Okay, this Congress has been in session, I think, something like 100 days. And they're getting paid. They're not getting a pay cut. You know what I mean? They're not showing up. I saw some Republicans in the House really complaining about it because Democrats aren't showing up for work, okay, in the House because of COVID. Now, on some of the big bills, they'll have what are called roll call votes. All right. So this was Protect American Act Senate roll call vote 2007. Okay. Yay Democrats, nay Democrats, non-voting Democrats. These were guys, some of them were running for president. Okay. Over here, yay, all the Republicans voted for except for the ones that were out running for president. Okay. So this bill looks like it probably passed. Okay. 2 independents in the House at the time. He voted yay and he voted nay. That was Bernie Sanders over there. Okay. Now, how many filibusters have we seen over time? How often has this happened? Okay. So if you go back to 1963-64, you didn't have very many. Okay, you have the one famous one with Strom Thurmond. Okay, as you move into the late 60s, you start to see more. Okay, and this ends in 2008. Okay, so you see quite a few there. All right, this would probably tell you that Republicans and Democrats are moving further and further away from the middle, further and further away from each other. Okay, the more of these you have. All right, so this is a good graphic I put in here, guys. Okay, just to review. Okay, all right, so it starts in a committee, right? Bill gets a number. Bill gets a number. It gets introduced. It gets signed to a committee. Goes to subcommittee. Subcommittee. They have hearings. Subcommittee markup. Full committee markup. Same thing over here. Okay, now the House Rules Committee is going to make it open, closed, or modified. Okay, Senate doesn't have that because they have no rules, right? And then you calendar the bill. Nancy in the House and Mitch McConnell in the Senate will put it on there. They'll go floor action. Okay, bill will either be passed when they vote, okay, or it will die. Okay, if the same bill, well, you're going to have two different versions. Because remember, version 1, House, version 2, Senate. Now remember, the Senate, because they can add as many amendments as they want, the bills are going to be different. So you have two different versions, and this is why we go to the conference committee. Okay, I talked about the conference committee in the notes earlier. Did we do that in this with you guys? In class, I think I wrote it over here, where we had two tax plans, one that was 15%, one that was 5%. Yeah. That's conference committee where they work out the two versions into a third version. Okay, that's the conference committee. Then it's got to be voted on again by the House and by the Senate. And then if the same exact bill passes both houses, you can send it to the president, or he can sign it or veto it. Okay. Actually, there's 4 things the president can do. Our last step. We've only got 5 minutes. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking, guys. We're pretty much done. I'm going to cover this probably tomorrow, or I'll put it up here so you can see it. But we'll be looking at reviewing Wednesday. Okay. Oh, wait. I got conference committee and presidential action. So I'll be able to wrap this up tomorrow and do a review. If we test Thursday and Friday. Test Thursday and Friday. Okay. And then that'll allow us to start on the executive branch and finish it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, House Senate versions are taken up. Okay, so you got House and Senate, right? Version 1, version 2, and then conference committee here. Okay, they've got to reconcile the differences between the two. You get version 3. If a bill makes it to conference committee, there's a good chance it's going to pass. Okay. So remember, usually taken from the committee that bill came from in the respective houses. Okay. Usually they support the bill because they voted in favor of it beforehand. They have room for compromise. Okay. After the differences are resolved, they'll write a report. Again, those reports are important because members generally don't read the whole bill. This is a summary of the bill. Okay, that is sent to the members. It is rare that a bill will fail after conference committee. So this is a pretty good picture here, guys, of these members. You've probably got the House members on one side, the Senate members on another side, and they're working out the differences. Okay. Let's deal. Let's make a deal. Let's compromise. I'll give a little bit here. You give a little bit here. Let's work this out. And so tomorrow, guys, when we go with the 4 options the president has, it's 2 ways of vetoing. Actually, there's 3 ways to veto a bill. No, 2 ways to veto a bill and 2 ways to sign a bill to go into law. Okay? That I'll be talking about in the lecture tomorrow. All right, so you guys will need to watch the review video, which I'll be going live tomorrow morning. If you want to come and watch the review live, have questions, and that's it. The Mr. Smith thing, I'll try and set up over the weekend for you if you want to do it over the weekend. Yeah.
I don't remember, but remember when you said you were gonna look back on the videos to see if you said something at breakfast if you didn't say it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look.
I can't remember what it was.
So
And then I
that's
forgot to
automatic
record that
win
video.
for us. Automatically for us.
And that was a good lecture. And I forgot to record it, but not this one.
I can't even remember what we're looking for. What was it?
There's something about the